I'm Alex Roberts,
I'm Jared Miller.
and it's time to dangle, snipe, and stampede.
It's scores! Welcome everybody back to Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. It's a Thanksgiving episode. We're both back home, not in Colorado, going back home visiting family for the holidays. And time to talk and digest and decompress what we just witnessed this past weekend.
Yeah, it was a action-packed weekend, 4 games, some exciting ones for sure. So a lot to talk about, and I know I had a great time this weekend at the rec center.
Let me just tell you, I was just happy that we had more than like 2 games. It was just nice to see more than one team play during the weekend, get back in the swing of things, and get ready for the conclusion of this first semester, and then to hit the ground hard for the second semester. I think it was just nice to have a good handful of broadcasts this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. Just definitely a good time, and it's always fun. But just having that consistency of one game that would just move right into the next it's pretty fun.
Well, it's also interesting because it's like it felt like we hadn't had any broadcast this year
Hmm.
because of the home games only being when the football team was on the road that weekend. So that was an interesting thing that changed from this year to last. So I don't know. It was nice to just broadcast a couple games this week.
Yeah, it's I had a great time. Now I'm home for Thanksgiving and excited for that too.
That's great. Oh man, am I excited for Thanksgiving? One of my favorite holidays of the year. Uh, Gonna be honest, I kind of get a little upset that people just completely skip Thanksgiving and they go right to Christmas. I love Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving's a good one.
One of my favorite holidays for sure. So yeah, you want to start talking about the D1 team here? I think that was probably the big story out of the weekend.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So D1 team, they come in this weekend after splitting 2 games in Utah against the Utes, and they come out flat on Friday night, really flat. Get shut out, lose 3-0. It was it was an entertaining game. Just felt like they just couldn't get anything offensively. Like the defense for Missouri State was on point.
Yeah, I mean, well, after the second game of the series, I talked to Drew McConaughey, and he said they were kind of just riding this high from the week before in that win in Utah, and they just came out slow and just weren't really executing. So yeah, they didn't play poorly in that Friday night game, but it just wasn't. They just weren't fully there. They were still excited from the big win against Utah, who was a ranked team and top 20, 21, 22, right? That
21,
right?
I think, was where Utah was.
Yeah. So, and then coming in playing another ranked team the week after, still kind of some excitement. Led to a little bit of a slow start. They had their chances, but they just penalties also in the game early kind of took the momentum away. They were on the kill 4 times in the first period. So,
Yeah, and they took all like those 4 penalties like the first like 10 minutes. It was just really
mhm.
sloppy. I mean, they got 2 like power plays later in that period, but I mean,
it,
it's
it
tough.
was it was a weird first period too,
Yeah,
especially coming off that last game, the high of a win, and then having the special teams be such a big factor. I think could have been another factor in that as well.
yeah,
Affected the game. Yeah, like 4 penalties in the first half of the first period. It's like, well, you're just on the kill. The momentum is totally against you on that point.
yeah, yeah. So they dropped 3-0. I mean, it was like they were in it too. Like there was only one goal for like 55 minutes throughout that game.
It
Missouri
was like
State put
halfway
2 in
through
the
the
back of the net in
second.
the last like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, because they had a chance to tie it. There was a big chance right in from the slot. McConaughey, I think, one timer and just a huge save by Jones.
Yeah,
And it was, I mean, if that goes in, it's 1-1. It's a completely different outcome to the game.
yeah,
'Cause Missouri State would go on to score 2 late ones that, not meaningless, obviously, because put the game out of reach, but it wasn't the score didn't indicate how the game felt and kind of went
yeah.
in that point.
Yeah, I talked to Aiden early in the third period during the broadcast, and I asked him kind of like, oh, do you think that this game was going to be like one of those games where it's just if it gets to 1-1, the next goal wins. If it's going to be 2-0 or 2-1, or will we see some massive scoring in the third? I had no doubt that it was going to be a 2-0, 2-1, type game. Nothing had told me that there was going to be a breakout offensively for the teams, and frankly, it went exactly as expected in that third period. See, just they got goalied a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it just happens. They
Like,
didn't get goalie in that second game.
yeah, it didn't happen that second, that's for sure.
I, that second game is so funny because it just everything that we thought about those teams from that first game, you just throw it out the window. Like it didn't even take like long for the expectations just completely change. Like, see, you scored 3 in the first 10 minutes, or a little bit more than 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was a little over 10 minutes, but it was like, where was this yesterday when we were on the broadcast? It's like, well,
And it was the same
take a
goaltender too.
pain.
Like, they didn't switch
Yeah.
either.
And it was just Pashenik, Pearson, and Pashenik again, just early in the game. And it was a good comfort zone at the beginning, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, and then it's like they go into the first intermission up 3-0. I mean, that was just really nice. Um, and they come out in the second period. They let up one on the power play. And then when Borgie scores on the breakaway, Ross Jones gets pulled, and Matt Griffin comes in for the rest of the game. And honestly, I don't even know if that was the moment that really things changed because the game kind of kept pace for
Yeah.
that second period.
Yeah, I don't think that I think sometimes a goalie pull can wake up the team. It didn't feel like that in this game. Obviously, Missouri State would score another goal in that period, but the Buffaloes also scored two more as well
Yeah.
after Jones was pulled. So I don't think that was as big of a thing. I think Missouri State just took over in the third period, and they had a fire behind them that really changed the game.
Well, yeah, it was like both teams scored 3 goals. It was like very even, very, very fun period to watch with all the scoring. But yeah, like Buffs are up 3 going to the third, and then it just right out the gate they look like they're getting caught off guard, and Missouri State's taking every chance that they have, and of course they put one behind Liam O'Gwyn in like the first like 5 minutes, and then you start getting worried. You're like, okay, they're not messing around.
On
They're
their
gonna they're
heels
gonna
now,
really try and
yeah,
push and tie this thing.
yeah, and they did, they did tie it. That was it. As soon as that fifth goal went in, I was like, oh no, because it wasn't. I mean, it was a shot from the point that was kind of a screen that just kind of found its way right by the blocker of O'Gwen. And it's like, oh no, that's not the best. But it's like the momentum's against the Buffaloes at that point.
Yeah,
You
that
just
that
do
one
it.
was tough, and to me, like you were saying it too. I mean, we were like I was starting to get like a little shake. I was getting really nervous, especially after Missouri State tied it. Like that was like, oh boy, they've just lost all the momentum. It really
Yeah,
kind of felt like they were, if they had tied it and they got
they
one
were.
more good look, they probably would have scored. But I feel like they got that tying goal a little too late to the point where they could have,
They got
drawn
with
up something
about
massive and,
three
continue
minutes
to apply
left,
pressure.
right? They got with about 3 minutes left that tying goal.
Yeah, it was like a little under 4.
Well, they did get that one more chance though.
Well, yeah, that was a big save from
Up
Liam
sent to the
O'Gwyn. I
front
think
of
that's
Gwen just
probably a
gloved it.
big thing that,
I was like, oh man,
yeah,
that's what you needed.
yeah, you said that. You were like, man, that's huge glove save. He doesn't get that. That is wide open. That's an easy tip in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, because if that went in, I think it was game over. It already
Oh yeah.
felt like it felt like after they tied that game, it was like, all right, they're gonna win this one. They're gonna,
Yeah.
but
That just spoiled the comeback though. Getting to overtime. I mean, it was really weird because the overtime was kind of. It was only like a little over a minute long.
it
I mean, you said it
felt
was a
like
possession game, and
so
Missouri State
weird.
only got one shot on net.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they possessed it for the first like 50 seconds of the overtime. They just didn't like what they saw, so they kept circling out of their own end. looking for the best option, and then they finally just mishandled it, and McConaughey just took the puck and walked right in.
I know. I
Made a
mean,
nice move. Made a nice move in the blue at the blue line to go wide, cut back, and
yeah,
his corner. But I mean, the Buffs touched the puck for like maybe five and a half,
that was their
10
first
of
like
that
even
overtime.
chance.
It's the first time they touched the puck, other than
Yeah.
O'Gwen covering it up on
Yeah.
the shot he faced. So I was like, oh,
Well,
well,
it was interesting because I felt like there was a lot of times where someone on the Buffs would try to go wide towards the boards, and Missouri State would just closed it off, wasn't having it, or they knocked him off the puck, and McConaughey just blew right past his defender and then picked his corner and hit it. Beautiful shot.
yeah, that was fun.
Well, and I say that mainly because it felt like Wood was the one who was getting the breakouts a lot, and every time he tried to go wide,
He dragged
he'd be
down.
taken down. Um,
Even worse than Kevin Schuss was getting a fair share of
yeah,
those chances going wide and power moving towards the net.
Pashenik tried it a couple times. I want to say
It
Trunko
felt
had
like
one time he had the opportunity. I mean, Borky kind of got around the wide end when he scored on that breakaway.
yeah, it just felt like when they were getting knocked off the puck or taken down or nice plays to disrupt the oncoming Buffaloes, but that was that final maybe 3-on-3. There's so much open ice, it made it a little harder to keep especially someone that fast to the outside for that long.
Yeah,
Made a nice move and game over.
yeah. It just, oh my goodness, it was just such a good shot. Um, and that was just poetic way to end that game. Spoil the comeback. You're up four late in the second. You let one on to end the second, and then they just go on a 3-0 run in the third period to tie, and it feels like you have no momentum, and then all it takes is one shot, and
Hmm.
he buries it.
Yeah, it was certainly an exciting one. Maybe not as maybe a little more exciting than the team wanted themselves,
Yeah.
but it was an exciting one, and they did walk away with the win, which is a
Yeah.
good way to go into the break.
Well, it's a huge win for them just to kind of split the set, and
Like, Missouri State was ranked 20th in the country
yeah,
in the AHA, so it's like that's a big win, especially because we saw what beating Utah did, who's right next to Missouri State in the standings. It boosted the Buffaloes up all the way up to 28. Because they were mid 30s, right?
yeah, they were in like the mid 30s there.
It boosted them to 28. Maybe they don't get as big as a boost just because there's not as much room to go
Well, and it was an
up.
overtime win. I
And it
think
was
that's a big part. Like, yeah, they got the win, but it was an overtime win, and that's only 2 points to three in the WCHL standings. I think
yeah.
the ACHA in the men's D1 rankings and how they keep track of standings, I think they do it by the same way the WCHL does it: three for a win, two for an overtime
Yeah.
win, one for an overtime
So,
loss, and zero for just a loss. So
so
it,
I'll be
it's
interested to see if
it,
they
it
move up.
it's a win, but it's not like the NHL where all wins count the same.
Yeah.
The wins are one less point, and the fact that they blew a 4-goal lead to get to overtime, I wouldn't say has me super nervous because frankly, they don't have very much tougher competition than that, other than like UCO. They have play UNLV of course to end the year, but like they're not playing Arizona
They
this
play
year.
GCU
They
though
play
this year.
ASU, but that's really it.
Do they play GCU this year? No, I don't
No, they
know.
don't play GCU. I think
Okay.
GCU and Arizona are the two
GCU.
teams they don't play.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I mean they still have to play. Yeah, UCL obviously is a tough one. Um, UNLV is at the end of the season too, so
Yeah.
it
I feel
doesn't
like
get
one thing they can
a
take
bunch of
away is like,
tough
yeah, you got
games.
the win, but just let's make sure we don't blow that 4-goal lead in the first place. Kind of just keep
Yeah,
the foot on the gas pedal because that was they were doing in the second period. Because like they went up three, and then Missouri State would bring it back to two, and then they got to three again. And of course, they got up to four. It's just you got to make sure you capitalize on the scoring opportunities.
yeah. I mean, one thing that I think was the biggest takeaway for me from this game was I think we talked about it on last week's podcast, but I think I said in order for them to kind of compete even more is we see the new players kind of on the roster stepping up and being the point lead, like Wood, Pearson, Marson Kevin Chus wasn't really getting on the score sheet.
He got plenty of points in that second
He
game.
got three this week,
Yeah,
this weekend. So he looked really good. Every time he touched the puck, it was like, oh man, he's gonna do something cool here. And
yeah.
only two assists, but like Wood and Pearson at the top of the score sheet, newer players, and I'm not. It wasn't like the leaders from last year were doing poorly. McConaughey's still right at the top of the score sheet. Borgie was a little low, only had one goal coming into the
He was
weekend.
struggling at the beginning of the year. So
Shenik was right in the middle of the pack. Nothing. I mean, he had 30 points in 31 games last year, so he
yeah.
knows how to score and to produce. It just didn't feel like you were seeing those names pop up as
Hmm.
much, be as prominent in the first 10 games. So I think that was, and I think that last week I said the biggest thing for this team to take another step is keep those newer players and depth scoring a little, keep having them produce, but you also need the big guns from last year to come back and really make an impact on the game, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Pashenik 2 goals, Borgie a goal, McConaughey a goal, and then you had Wood, Marson, Kevin Chus, and Pearson score.
So all those
So
like
like,
the three big new players that I feel like have made the biggest impact
and then
on
the
this
three big
team.
players from last year. And I think that's the key is they need to keep that up. Whatever the lines were working.
Yeah.
Because whenever Marcin Kevinchus, Izza, and Pashenik were on the ice, it's like, oh man, they're gonna. It looked like every time they touched the puck, it was gonna go in.
Yeah, and
They
it's
just
like interesting
seemed
because
to
I think the
no
last
issues.
time they were here, McConaughey was with Marcin Kevachus instead of Pashenik. So
Yeah,
I feel
so
like
I
that's worked
have
out
to
because
imagine
McConaughey
we
was
see
with
these
Pearson
lines
and Wood this
again.
time.
Yeah, the line. I feel like the lines got jumbled a little bit, but it worked because Trunco and Borgie were playing together with Di Demizio.
Yeah, it was that was an interesting choice for me. I was kind of surprised when I saw Di Demizio on that line with Borghi and Trunco. But like he played well.
Yeah, so I like. I think the lines got. I mean, I think they stick with these lines for the
These
next.
lines
I
look
mean,
really good.
they put up 7 goal. Obviously, you don't want to let up six, but I
Yeah.
think the offensive production is there, and I think they can fix the defense heading into the next week's or
Hmm.
next match
Well,
against
I think it's
CS.
interesting offensively because you have those top three lines, and then the fourth line on Saturday was Farrow, Blevins, and Foy. Really, like an enforcer line. It really wasn't like they were meant to go out there and put home a goal or two. It was really kind
Yeah,
of just out there to kind of beat up the other team in a way with two of your biggest hitters on that line.
yeah. I mean, they threw some pretty big checks.
Yeah. Or well, I think it was Bunting in that second game instead of Foy. Or no, they both played. I know
No, they
Bunting
both.
got the
Yeah, they
start
both.
though.
Played. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There was a mix
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
and
yeah, there was a mix
bottom
in that
that
line.
bottom line, but it
But
was
yeah, and no Caleb Gold playing on defense on that second game, which I thought was really interesting in that first game. Um, I feel like that must have been. I'm interested in that decision, and whether or not that was because they didn't have enough defenders, or or if they just thought Caleb Gold wanted to play defense, they were going to give him the opportunity. Um, I just had no idea. That was kind of interesting. That was kind of an interesting thing I took away from that first game. It's not like he really did anything like bad. Did anything? Didn't really knock me off my socks either. Yeah,
yeah,
frankly, that
just
entire team didn't. But like,
yeah. There were just a couple small changes to the lineup, and
yeah,
I mean,
it
when you go
worked.
from 0 to 7 goals, it's like okay, maybe those worked.
It's wild what happens when the only lineup changes are pretty much Bandoni is replaced by I think it was Bunting, which is interesting because I know that both you and Aiden were saying some really good things about Cam Bandoni from that first game, and then the only other change was just no more Gold and it was Hartman
Well,
and Crawford on that third defensive
I
pairing.
don't think I don't think Kinney played it in the second
Oh
game
yeah,
either.
that was there as well.
So a couple changes, but yeah, I'm interested to see if they keep the lines the same moving into the next matchup because they certainly seem to produce more, and they just every line seemed like they made an impact on the game,
Yeah,
which is something you like to see.
yeah, they did a great job on Saturday. I feel like there's some things that they can look on from Friday and look at just kind of, okay, this is how we can win both of these games because they've split 3 of the 2-game series they've played in the WCHL, but they haven't won both games yet so far this year. And of course, they've got a really good opportunity to do so to end the first semester with Colorado State next, who currently is ranked at the bottom of the conference at number 31 in the country. I don't know how that's going to change. I think they split with Oklahoma this weekend, so not sure where they're going to go because Oklahoma, I think, was 1 or 2 spots above CU. I think they were. I don't think they were in the top 25. I think they were like 26 or 27 though.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. It's a the rivalry matchups always are crazy. It's always an interesting thing that happens. So we'll have to. I'm excited for that though. I'm
Oh
glad to get a break, but I'm glad that's the first thing we get when we come back.
yeah, that's gonna be that. Oh, it's gonna be a great way to end the semester. Um, and it's just I love those games.
Hmm.
It's so much more fun when the rec is packed.
Oh yeah.
Um, which is
And it was
interesting. Which is
really
what
empty
interesting
at
about the
the
game as well.
holidays. It was so empty this past weekend, and it was
Yeah.
still exciting. I can just only imagine if that was a full barn when that overtime winner went in.
Oh my gosh. Well, it makes sense because it's break. People
Yeah,
aren't staying after Friday. They don't have any classes. They're like, I'm going home.
yeah. So
So it made sense why the rec was a little more empty. Um, so that kind of made sense. I'm not like but yeah, dude, if they're gonna pack that place for their next home game, really hope that it helps motivate them to go put another 8 goals on CSU.
that was so awesome.
Oh man, that
Uh,
was
We'll
great
have to.
game.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
It's probably more the
You
most
can
complete game of the year last year, I'd say.
definitely, definitely.
Um,
All right,
because they didn't win another game against CSU. They got killed in the other 2 games, and then of course the other game they had at home they blew it. So they obviously want that to change.
yeah, we'll have to see what that's December 1st and 2nd.
Yep. We'll talk more about that next week because there are no games this weekend because
Mhm.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more about what we want to see from the team next week going into that series against Colorado State.
All right, want to move on?
Yep, I think it's a good time to move on to the D2 team. Uh, they had a tough game out at Westminster against Metro State, and I get doubled up 8-4. Now they come home to play them, and they go into that third period down 4-1. I mean, that was just tough. I mean, they were down 3-0. They scored once. Like, okay, okay. They found a way to beat the goaltender, and then they lit up in another one, and that kind of really, really hurt.
Yeah, the game ended 5-3. It just watching it, it didn't feel that close.
Game could have
They
easily ended like 5-6-0.
they got a deflection, which obviously a nice play to get a stick on that puck. You get a deflection, goes in, and then the third goal to get the game within one in the final.
Like 3 minutes.
Yeah, it was just like a weird bounce that
Yeah, that was
happened.
weird.
But until that point, the rest of it really, they didn't generate really many chances. It just felt like um, Romanow, the goalie for Metro State, was just able to track everything. He wasn't really getting traffic in front of him. It was just the Buffaloes got on the zone and they threw the puck towards the net. They didn't have a lot of space. Obviously, that Metro State team's
Yeah.
arguably the best in the
I think they're
conference.
the best in the BMHC. They're undefeated in the conference play. They haven't lost a game.
Yeah, obviously
And they've
Denver can
beaten
always
Denver twice.
run for their money, but so far this season it's Metro State, so a good team, but it's one of those things where it's like they just didn't. It was a closer game on the scoreboard, but I don't know if that
Yeah.
reflects how the game
They got a
storyline
couple
really.
lucky shots. And frankly, I feel like their major problem is just simple pass, like some of the simple basics. Because some of these players can, they can make some nice moves, they can make some nice plays, but um, how about setting up these, great opportunities? They've really struggled setting up really good opportunities. An errant pass usually kills these offensive possessions, and that's usually how they have theirs ended, they get their pass intercepted, or that's just a bad pass.
Yeah.
It makes them fight for the puck in the corner. It's just they're struggling with puck possession.
Hmm.
Like even just watching them try to rush up the ice from their defensive zone to their attacking zone, they'll have like a 3-on-2 or like 3-on-3, and they just miss a pass, and it's just got to go right back the other way.
Yeah. So I mean, it's still a lot of time left, obviously, because it's weird because every team makes the playoffs in the BMHC. So if you win that, you get an auto bid to the regionals. But if not, you gotta make a claim to be a top
Yep.
14 team.
Which
And
isn't
right now, it's
impossible. I mean, going into this weekend, they were number 25 in the region, so it's not like they had to move up a ton.
they had three
But
wins, so they
but when
still
you
have a lot of time to
consider
make moves.
Yeah, but when you consider the team that they played on Saturday, Idaho State was ranked, I think, like 37 out of 53. There really aren't that many like really great teams in the West, but the great teams in the West region are really freaking good. So if they can find a way to win one or two of those games, that'd be huge. Because I did actually see they finally put out the rankings from last week. I mean, it wasn't there in time before for the Metro State and Idaho State games. Um, but Colorado State is now top 20, and Texas is I think one spot above them. So I think Texas is 19 and CSU's 8 or 20.
Mm.
So it's like those are two games against teams that are above you. That are those got to be two wins if they want to really kind of start to move up in the rankings. Because then after that, it's the BMHC Classic, which we're it's about a little less than 2 months away, and we still don't know the teams that are coming in. So we have
Hmm.
no idea what's going to happen there. And I
And
don't know. It's going to be really interesting.
they
I
gotta
gotta
start
say
winning.
they got to win their next two games. They got to find a
Because
way to win
there's
at least
still
one.
because there's still a lot of games left, but if you don't start winning, then they're just running out of time. If you don't win the games that you can win against teams in front of you, you're just gonna run out. Because they also play some of the top teams in the region, right? And on that Utah trip, right?
Yep. Utah
So it's
State, Weber State, both top five right now. Utah
so I
Valley
mean
is still pretty decent.
so those are gonna be tough games. So you gotta win the games that are a little more in reach, rankings wise, probably closer. Um, before you really start running out of time, it's like,
Yeah.
well, you gotta win the tournament now, the BMHC class or the BMHC conference tournament.
Yep.
So
It's just what they did against Idaho State was great and all,
but that's a spark
but
because that's
that's a spark. It has to be a spark.
the only thing I can really
To
take
me,
away
I feel
from
like
that
that
game.
game was needed for them. It was a get right game, and like
Yeah,
we had talked about it a couple other times here on the show, and how they struggled scoring, in terms of like getting true volume scoring. Like they had a very
yeah.
balanced attack. Like
I
they didn't
mean,
have one player who was like blowing the rest of the team out of the water when it came to goals or scoring. I guess now Simpson is in a way,
well, the
but
biggest concern I think was the goals came against Wyoming and now Idaho State, and they had a couple games where they scored big, but they weren't really generating that many goals per game other than those outliers.
yeah, they had a couple with the wins against Wyoming, and they had this game against Idaho State, and they
And the
scored the
California
six
trip, they
against Loyola
scored it.
Marymount and
They scored it.
lost.
Yeah. So
So it's just, I think that was what to me was the biggest thing that I was looking for in that game. How many ways can they find to put into the back of that? How many different ways can they figure out to create opportunities? It felt
yeah,
almost like a scrimmage, and a practice. Not necessarily like a practice, but it felt like a good scrimmage in a way to really practice your opportunities, especially in that third period. I wanted to see them try and try different things instead of just trying like completely run up the score to 20. I just wanted to see them try some different things. Work on that passing in the game. Work on that, puck possession. Obviously, they dominated because Idaho State, whereas it was like just like their fifth game ever
yeah.
as an organization. Which I mean, they're gonna
They
lose. They're gonna lose big time because they don't
they
have
showed
any.
up with ten
They're just starting
skaters,
out.
10 skaters and two goalies. I was standing there and I was like, it is crazy that my adult league team at 10:45 on Thursday night can have a bigger roster than this team. But I mean, I was convinced they weren't going to show up. I really was. It just seemed like a fake game to me. I was like, "There's no way
Uh,
this team showed up." They had 3 games played. They had a roster of 10 people. It's like there's no way they're playing, right? And then they showed up, and I was like, "All right, we'll see how this goes." And then it was it, it was bad. It was bad.
hey, one of the
But
best games they've played though, because remember they played Weber in Utah and they let up like 20 every time. I mean, and then
got
they played Wyoming the day before and they scored 3 times. So I mean,
yeah, got to start playing to start growing the program.
yeah, I mean, look what SDSU
These
did in D1 last year. They were
these games are
awful,
tough.
and then
Tough.
and then they look so much better this year. Like it's literally just 1 year makes a difference. It's
Yeah, so
crazy.
we'll see. Maybe yeah, we'll have to see.
If
That'll
they
be a fun
played
story.
again next year, I'd be interested to see if they had because I talked to one of the parents there who was there for Idaho State, and they said they were getting a couple new skaters at the
Hmm.
turn of the semester. They were getting some more players, and they're kind of getting the word out there. So, frankly, 1 year could make a difference. I'd be interested if they played again next year, how much better they'd play.
Yeah, we'll have to keep it. But again, I think that game is more just a spark than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Because that
Because
game wasn't scheduled until like September.
hmm
They already played a couple games.
got to picked up the fourth win. Now 14-10, right? The record on the season.
Yeah, like 4-10. Yeah, they just and that's one thing we've mentioned as well. They've just lost close. They've lost a
They
couple of
have
these
a
games
close
really
game.
close.
They haven't really got blown out, except that Metro State game
Yeah, I
8-4
think that's
was
probably their worst loss of the
score
year.
wise.
It was
But
like they lost to Denver by 1 goal. The other 2 games weren't that good, but it's like,
East Texas Baptist 1-0 and 2-0.
yep,
California, they were
they
in the
lost by
game.
2 and lost by 1, and then they won by 1. It's just they're playing in close games a lot.
Yeah,
So they
you
got to
gotta find
find
a
a
way.
way to dig deep late in the game and either get a tying goal or hold on to a lead. Because I don't know
Yeah.
how many times they've had the lead and then given it away. Because when I checked like intermission updates and on their socials, they really post just who's got the goal and then what the scores at the intermission. So like I was
Mhm.
scrolling through that Loyola Marymount game, I'm like, oh dude, they scored 6 goals, and I see the
Yeah.
final score, I'm like,
What? Yeah, that
seven
one caught me off guard.
six.
I was like, oh,
Come on.
you can't tell me they scored 6 and lost. And I was like,
Can't
I
tell
saw
Missouri
that.
State they scored
Dang,
6 and lost.
that's tough. But
But yeah, no,
yeah,
it's just a get right game. I mean, Simpson had a hat trick. Coveney scored 4. I think Levkis had a pair. There was one other player that had a pair. I think, like Petone scored one.
Alexiev had one.
Yep, Alexiev had one. There was
I
a there was a tip from Saniki on a shot from Hackett.
Tufo got one.
Smithberger got one.
Oh yeah, Spencer got one.
I mean,
There were a
they
lot
had
of
plenty.
goals.
They had plenty of scoring, and that was their issue. They just couldn't find the back of the net. So I mean, that hopefully that shows that like, okay, we can score. Now let's try and do it against a team
74
that's not
shots.
played just 5 games ever.
They had like 79 shots
Yeah,
on the
yeah. I thought I was highballing it there when I gave him like 70 throughout the game because Aiden wasn't there for that game, so I was tracking the shots.
Yeah.
I thought I was just like, dude, I'm giving him way too many shots here.
That's not
70?
going to happen every game. So
No.
you gotta find a way to score when you're getting 25 shots a game and find a
Yeah,
way to beat the goalies that
and
way
the
too.
goalies are tougher as well.
Yeah. I thought the goalies actually for Idaho State actually didn't play terrible. Like
No, no, not at all.
the first period is I was like we were standing there and it was all the puck. The Buffs had the puck for the entire period.
Yeah,
And they had 2 goals. I was like, what is happening?
and
Obviously it got blown.
and then
It
they scored
started.
like 3 goals on 3 shots right after.
Yeah.
It's like,
But like for the first like 15 minutes of that period, the goalie was standing on his head.
yeah,
That was also the oddest thing I've seen. I've never seen so many goalie swaps.
yeah, that was
And
interesting. I mean,
they
they
just kept,
swapped
they just
after I
kept
think it was like the
all-
6th goal, and the goalie that replaced him, I think, even played better than the one who started. I
Yeah.
liked him more in terms of his play.
He
But yeah,
also
like
said
after like the
that.
11th goal or something, they swapped again, and then they swapped Like their starting goaltender was pulled two separate
But
times and then played, and then the other goalie was pulled twice. So he
yeah, it
started the
was
game and finished
wild.
it, but it was pulled twice. Really
Yeah,
weird.
I was like, they probably just want to get both reps.
I think that's
It's
probably it,
only their fifth
especially when
game
the
of the
game got out of hand.
season.
I think that's what was what more
And it's their
than
fifth
anything.
game of the season. Might as well just put both goalies in at that point. It was just so weird to see them keep swapping. You don't see that very often.
No, not at
So I
all.
was watching. I was like, what are they doing over there?
Yeah,
But
really weird.
yeah, we'll have to see if the scoring continues.
Yeah, they need to pick it up there, and well, they're getting Texas next. That's their next game, and that'll come right before the D1 CSU game. So that'll be like right before, oh gosh, I'd be really interested to see if that game is close in the third period, and the people that are starting to file in for the CSU game start coming in and realize and see if that can help the D2 team kind of propel them to a win there. But I don't know if that'll be the case. But
Excited to see
I'd just
Texas.
like to see them play well.
Yeah, I feel like Texas is going to be a cool team to see them play.
Yeah.
It's like you don't think of that when you think of hockey.
Yep. That whole conference is weird because
Mhm.
East Texas Baptist is the best team in that conference. Or actually, no, I think SMU is like top five now. Like SMU just shot up the rankings this past week.
Oh,
SMU is playing well. There's like you get like Texas and there's like A&M, TCU,
yeah.
Baylor, like some of these big Texas schools. Houston's. I don't know if they're in that conference, but they're
UMHC
playing hockey.
Classic should be fun.
Yeah, it's really
I
interesting.
want, what I want to see. What if we see some future Big 12 rivals come up for that? TCU maybe.
I know
That'd be
Texas
fun.
A&M. I know the Buffs played Texas A&M last year. I don't think it was for the BMHC Classic, but I know the Buffs did play Texas A&M last year.
TCU
Um,
would be fun.
yeah, maybe we see Baylor, TCU, maybe Oklahoma State comes up.
Maybe.
Um,
We'll have to keep an eye on that.
yeah,
I'm
no, that'd be
excited.
interesting.
We missed
It's
it.
probably going to be a bunch of teams from North Dakota.
We were on break last year when that happened, right?
Yeah, it was
So
the
you
week
come
right
back and
before
we missed
it
it.
was the week right before we came back for school.
Yeah.
So I know I got to figure out and see when I can get back because it's like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday type thing. I don't know if they play 5 games, but they'll probably play 4.
Hmm.
So it's just we'll have to see what when they come out with the schedule for that. But I know that all of that is non-conference because all it is just the BMHC teams hosting non-conference teams from like North Dakota,
Yeah.
Utah, Arizona, Kansas, or whatever. Right? I don't even know if
Hmm.
Kansas has a couple teams, but
Yeah.
I know for sure KU and K State aren't there.
Hmm. Well, anything else you want to touch on?
Not really. I just
Oh, actually, one more interesting note.
okay.
Two more teams added to the WCHL.
Oh yeah, we haven't gotten a chance to talk about that. Yeah,
STSU and in Northern Arizona.
yeah. So 2 more teams getting added to the WCHL next season. Northern Arizona, one of I think 4 teams who have gotten nods to become D1 programs next year. The only one I think in that'll be in the like I think the only one that's currently in the West region is Northern Arizona.
Caught me off guard when it wasn't Oregon. When
I
I saw
agree.
the
I
team,
agree. I was very surprised when I
I was like,
saw
oh,
that they were
SDSU and
immediately
Oregon.
giving Northern Arizona the bid to the conference instead of just having them play independent for a couple of years or a
Yeah,
year or
so
two.
it'll be fun to see that
Though I did
next.
see in the article they posted, the ACHA posted, that because we all know that the WCHL they don't have like divisions, but they use like divisions to help scheduling. So it's the reason
Yeah,
why the Buffs play Oklahoma, Missouri State, Central Oklahoma, and Colorado State twice home, twice away every year. It's like,
yeah.
oh, why can't we just stop scheduling Central Oklahoma? They kill us every time. Well, they're closer when it comes to our conference, so we're kind of have to schedule them home and away every year. So we don't get to play GCU, Arizona, Utah, ASU every year.
Mm,
But on the article they said that SDSU and NAU would be joining like that Western Division, and that the division like the so-called division that the Buffs are in, they don't get another team. So it'd be
mm,
like what, there are 14 teams and it'd be like 8-5 or no, 8-6 teams, and it's
Yeah,
really weird. Nine to
that's
five,
not the
maybe even.
worst.
It's just really weird. I would think that they'd move Utah to, as we schedule home and away with Utah. I think that'd be pretty
That
fun.
makes sense.
But I don't know if they do. I don't know if it may have just been a typo. But when you move two teams in that way, you got to move something over because it's like all the other teams like UNLV and ASU, they got to schedule like 6 teams home and away. So
Yeah,
I'd just like to see the Buffs play Utah home and away. That'd be pretty fun.
Big
Because I
12
don't know the
rival
last
next
time they
year.
played here, and I don't know, I don't know the last time they played in Boulder.
Yeah, so
But yeah, I was honestly really surprised not to see Oregon in there. Because I mean, like they really don't have anyone over there like as an independent school. They're
yeah,
kind of isolated out there in Eugene. But maybe that's
and
why
they,
they didn't join the WCHL because there's really not many other schools like close. Like the closest team is probably Utah.
yeah,
Geographically, probably Utah. Maybe I don't
it
think it would be UNLV.
wouldn't be SDSU,
No, it wouldn't
right?
be
That's too
SDSU.
far south.
It'd probably be Utah. I mean, it's a pretty far way to travel.
It is.
So maybe that's why. Because like NAU is like there's already 3 teams in Arizona, and then now you're
Yeah.
getting SDSU, and then you have UNLV over there. I mean, they're all right there.
Hmm.
So it's not difficult to add, San Diego State or Northern Arizona. But I want to say that probably because San Diego State has had such a big improvement, that's part of the reason why they put them in and they decided to do it this year instead of maybe next year or the year after. Because they've
Yeah.
they've improved a lot. But the WCHL is changing. Should be interesting to see. Obviously, when we graduate, because we won't be around here next year to see the those teams join the conference. Um, so yeah, 2 new teams in the WCHL should be interesting for the Buffs. Maybe they'll play SDSU. That's gonna be a conference game next year. Maybe they play Northern Arizona next year. Should be really interesting. Should be fun. But yeah. You got any other final thoughts?
No, no, that's it for me.
Well, WCHL ever changing. The Buffs ranked in the top 30. They get 2 points out of 6 possible this weekend against Missouri State with the overtime win. Their next series is against Colorado State. The week come back from break, so by the time this goes up in about 10 days from when this episode goes up, and I can tell you how excited I am for those games. D2 team will play Texas that same weekend, and then they get their own CSU matchup the following weekend.
And then the women's team plays when we get back too.
Yep. So every team is at home when we come back. Kind of give us and the fans of hockey at CU one last final hurrah in the first semester. All 3 teams will be at home to finish the semester, and can't tell you how excited I am to really kind of hope and see if these teams can really get a couple big wins over the next couple weekends. And with that, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Dangle, Snipe, and Stampede. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. I know it's a great day. Enjoy time with your families, all right? Have a good one, and you heard it here first.